Welcome back. It's the week before spring break up here at the Capitol, which means it's deadline week. We heard last week we had the House deadlines, and now we have one more week to hear all the bills that are coming from the Senate that we haven't heard yet. So it's been very busy in committees. I've had the Destination Medical Center issue come up. We've dealt with that. And we also have had the Project Lifesaver technology bill, which will protect vulnerable adults and vulnerable children with autism or other disorders from wandering off and getting lost. And it won't maybe stop them from wandering off, but it will help find them very quickly should that happen. So very good reception in the House Health and Human Service Committee, and it moves on to its Finance Committee hearings after break. So after our week's break, we are going to come back and find out a little bit more about how folks are going to spend the money in their budgets. Which brings me to the issue of the week, which was our budget targets. We did, in all of our committees, get our budget targets from the House Republican caucus here in the House of Representatives, and some kind of interesting results. We have $2.6 billion of spending that's going to happen in the tax committee alone, which means very large part of the surplus is going to be spent by Tax Chair Representative Greg Davids, and it sounds like they're talking about tax credits and tax cuts. We'll see where it all goes at the end. But my concern with this type of approach is that one of the things we've worked very hard to do up here at the Capitol over the last 8 years since I've been here is try to get to the point where we have a structurally balanced budget. And we finally are there. Yes, the recession's ended and we have more revenue coming in perhaps than was anticipated. But again, we need to remember those were just projections, and so they're over projection. That's good news for Minnesota. It means our economy is strong. But if we give it back in ongoing tax credits and tax breaks, that means the ongoing structure of our budget and our ability to have a balanced budget moving out becomes more difficult because the integrity of what we've done will be affected. So in addition to that, kind of concerning, exciting probably for some because they think I'll get a break, and maybe they will, but also concerning because of that budget aspect. It also means that there are cuts in many other divisions and committees, and one of those that's of concern to many is the Health and Human Service budget, which I believe has almost $1 billion in cuts that they're going to have to do. Also, the environment was another committee that has to actually make cuts. The other committees had very small increases in expenditures. I hope that covers the cost of inflation. I think it does, and then maybe a few extra programs. One of the other areas that took the cut was jobs, and I serve on the Greater Minnesota Workforce Development Committee, and while the message in the halls is that we didn't need that money because the economy is doing well and everybody's working, we don't need to spend money on jobs programs, I can tell you from months of testimony there are jobs available, but there aren't the trained individuals out there to take those jobs, and many of the programs that get funded through the Jobs Committee are job skills training so that we can take people that may have some skills but not the right skills for that job and get them employed and out there working so the businesses can provide the services that we all come to expect. So after break, as I said, the actual budget items will be identified, the way they're going to cut or spend in committees. That will become available fairly quickly, will become obvious kind of what's happening, but we also need to remember that this is just an out-the-gate messaging really from the caucus over here on the House, because they do have to deal with the Senate, who is not as interested in giving back $2 billion, knowing that it will affect the budget. They're going to want a much more conservative and thoughtful approach. They'll probably agree to give some of that money back, is the terms we hear in the hall, but through tax credits or perhaps property tax cuts, which we've been doing for the last couple years. They may increase those, which is great, but it's going to be balanced with some spending. The Senate's going to insist on that, and certainly the governor is part of the picture too. So the House and the Senate and the governor at the end of the day will have the real budget, and we won't know that until closer to the end of session, probably in May. So I hope you'll tune in again next time. I'll update you after break about specific budget line items and spending cuts, all those kinds of details after break. Tune in next time.